Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Emily.
And we're the hosts of the I Don't Think So podcast, where we decide if we think a conspiracy theory is believable or if we really don't think so.
Here at the I Don't Think So podcast, we are affiliated with Flurry Sports, and we present our theories on your favorite place to listen to podcasts every single Wednesday. If you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a like, a share it with your friends, family. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at I Don't Think So _EH.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Guess who's back?
Yeah, back again.
The dream team's back.
Back together.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, I had to giggle because, of course, Jake is like so long-winded because the boys over there at the Flurry Sports podcast are always long-winded.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked down at the time and it was like 40 minutes. And I was like, we've got to cut it short. Like, drop the opinions.
When I was about to click on it, I was like, oh, I got to listen to how they did. And I see it was like 40 some minutes long.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes sense.
That makes sense. I literally was like, this is the longest our podcast has ever been. And he's like, I thought we were doing such a good time. And I was like, no.
It did. You guys did great. It was very interesting. It was just a little long.
That's just a longer podcast than we're used to.
But maybe that will pull in some listeners from the Flurry Sports podcast. They're like, we don't listen to anything under 40 minutes. So now we can start listening to you guys.
What would be the point if it's under 40 minutes?
I can listen to it from my drive to work and back. No. I need like a 3-day thing.
I want it to last me the week. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, last week we got to hear all about Vanderpump Rules and how Lisa Vanderpump definitely staged all of the Scandal drama. What I think is the most fun is that I think neither of us have still watched Vanderpump Rules, correct?
No.
But I'm still like invested just in how much Zach and Jake get into it.
How invested they are is why I'm invested, but no, I have not watched it, but it makes me feel like I should watch it.
When we were on vacation over the weekend, I had gone out to dinner with Zach and some of our other friends and his girlfriend Lindsay, and there's this lady that was like dishing her tea at this restaurant, and she supposedly kind of sounded like Lisa Vanderpump, and so we're like, she's in Duluth, Minnesota.
She's here and she's dropping it all.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm never gonna talk to them again. Like, we're getting all of the tea.
Oh my god.
It was excellent. Yeah. And then my husband Dan and I also went to lunch today, and there's another like tea spill at Sammy's Pizza.
I love Sammy's.
And it's like, I'm never gonna see them ever again. Well, I guess he texted me back. Maybe I'll see him, but not till like October. And I was like, ooh,
tell me more.
I know. I'm fully invested. So
you're gonna talk that loud in a restaurant, you gotta like,
let me pull up a chair.
Start from the beginning.
Tell me the names. I need a little picture web of like how people are interconnected.
Tell me more.
So I kind of got inspired by your pop culture theme last week and decided to kind of dive deeper into a conspiracy theory that I've researched slightly prior to this.
Nice.
But it kind of got spurred up again with the event that's happened with the Titanic submersible going missing and then like imploding. Now that they've discovered it, has sparked rumors about this theory again. So Emily, have you heard the theory about how the Simpsons predict the future?
I have heard about it, but I never really watched The Simpsons. I've just heard that like there's been weird coincidences of like in 1990 they predicted like the Twin Towers or something, you know?
Yeah.
And like multiple instances where it seems like they're in the know long before anything ever happens.
Yeah, for sure. So I found this whole article that lists like tons of instances with the seasons and the episode numbers. So I'm going to put that link out on our Twitter because there's way more than what we could describe in a 30-minute episode. If we were here for, an hour and a half, then maybe we could read through every single one. But I thought that people could peruse it at their leisure. So I just took a couple examples of ones that I had heard of prior, and then we'll get your opinion. Like, does someone one of the Simpsons writers in the know time travel maybe? That's my guess. Anyway, so the first one I actually ever heard this theory on was when Donald Trump became president.
Oh.
And so this dates back to season 11, episode 17, called Bart to the Future. And this is one of the biggest conspiracies because it's in the episode, it's the second time that the Simpsons predicts it. The episode is about predicting the future.
Weird.
And so in it, Lisa, who's the daughter in The Simpsons, becomes the president of the United States. And during the episode, she's in this cabinet meeting, and she mentions that we inherited quite the budget crunch from President Trump. Oh, which is crazy. And it initially was a reference to Trump trying to attempt to run as a Reform Party candidate, but it gained so much more validity when he was actually elected in 2016. And then the week after the election, the recurring chalkboard, when they write that at the beginning of the episode, says being right sucks. And so I know what I didn't realize when I looked at this was that I thought this episode actually came out a lot prior. I didn't realize that he would actually had already put in his campaign name, whatever, but when they put it in the episode. So what are your thoughts on that one?
That one, it feels more of oh, ha ha ha, let's poke fun at the worst case scenario of because I think everybody genuinely, when he first put in his candidacy, thought he's never gonna get it. What a joke.
Mm-hmm. And then
it was not a joke.
And then it wasn't a joke.
It was not funny anymore.
Mm-hmm. And so they actually put some stuff in now that he has put in his bid for the 2024 election. And so they're a little bit nervous, and the writers even mentioned stuff on Twitter we shouldn't have even joked about this.
This is not a good joke anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You took the fun all out of it, Trump, by actually winning.
Yeah. And so there's lots of other examples of this that I didn't know were as popular. Some of these about different scandals, and some of these I was okay, these are things that you could write about this happening in real life, and it's not super crazy of these things happening. For example, there's one about a baby translator, and they've made a crying app that analyzes the baby's cry and tells you maybe what it needs. So I feel that's something when you write it could potentially be something people are already trying to invent.
Right.
There is another one about catching a three-eyed fish. That's something that potentially genetic mutations could happen.
Right.
And it was in the show, it was based because of a nuclear waste mutation, and that actually was the cause of it in real life. So I was ooh, interesting, but again, not super crazy. I'll put the link to this on our Twitter because there's lots of other ones where I'm okay, not as crazy that it actually happened, but still interesting. Some other ones that I thought were a little more interesting was there's 2 instances where they correctly predicted Super Bowl winnings. One with correctly predicting the Washington Redskins winning one year, and then another year they called it with the Dallas Cowboys winning it. And so they joke that they've actually accurately predicted several other Super Bowls of San Francisco 49ers over the San Diego Chargers or whatever. And so there's different instances of sports. I know there's another one in here where they're talking about certain soccer games that they're predicting the winners of. So I'm guessing a lot of it's based around people who actually might know sports making a logical guess. I wouldn't know how to do that.
I wouldn't know how to do that.
But quite interesting, I thought. And then finally, the one that I kind of led into the show, this is more recently. It was in, another sports one was how the U.S. wins gold in curling. Thought I'd just mention that for Zach because he loves a good
curl.
But more recently was how the underwater submersible was in an emergency situation. And so in season 17, episode 10, called Homer's Paternity Coot, in the episode, Homer believes that a man named Mason Fairbanks was his long lost biological father. And the two embark on an underwater adventure in individual submersibles, trying to find treasure from a sunken ship, which is really interesting, leaning similarly to how these individuals were going down to look at the Titanic. And then one of the big talking points of the episode was that when Homer gets stuck in a coral reef and his oxygen supply levels keep depleting because he only had so much time before he had to get back up to the surface. And this is a big talking point prior to us now knowing that the submersible had imploded almost probably immediately. A lot of people were trying to create different ideas of how long the gentleman could have actually stayed alive underwater if their submersible actually hadn't imploded. And so people are saying again now, most recently, that the Simpsons was predicting this missing ocean submersible with the Ocean Gate submersible going missing. So those are just a few examples of how potentially the writers of Simpsons might be predicting the future. What do you think?
Honestly, it's kind of crazy to me thinking about all of them. You know, how they've just, I don't know, some of it is clearly how many seasons have they had? How many episodes have they had? And crazy stuff happens all the time where it's some of the stuff isn't out of the realm of possibility. Like the Trump thing, it was a joke until it wasn't. And including the sports ones, like you said, I'm sure they have someone on staff who looks into sports actually.
Or if you just it's one of those things too, where it's if you just keep guessing that the United States is going to win something,
eventually you'll be right. Eventually. Yeah. Or it's it's a 50-50 shot with who's going to win a Super Bowl. It's either this team or that team. So I don't know about those, but the other ones that are the submersible, or pretty sure they had a Twin Towers one, but I'm not sure. Those to me are just weird. And I don't necessarily believe that they're time travelers, but I definitely have some questions on who's on staff that gets to throw their weight around at a government level. You know? I'm not saying the Twin Towers were an inside job.
Tune in next week.
But I just think and I'm not saying that the Titanic imploded, the submersible imploded because of a government conspiracy.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. That's the newest conspiracy out there. But I don't know. I have this feeling that they have a very intelligent group of folks there who make a lot of crazy, wacky things happen in their show, and then sometimes they just happen to come true.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. And again, like you said, when you're on and you have a show running for that long, that's paying attention to pop culture references, looking at things like the Twin Towers as being this very important figure for U.S. commerce and things like that. You can make ideas of what someone might think,
right? And
then something like that happens. It's just interesting when we actually see it and we're life imitating art, really.
That's crazy.
Interesting. So, yeah.
That's crazy. Good one.
Thanks. Just a little short conspiracy today.
A little quick one.
And that actually kind of leads us into our Absolutely Not segment. Emily and I wanted to try something a little bit different today.
We did. We wanted to mix it up a little bit because both of us love Am I the Asshole stories and Reddit stories and things like that. So Hannah's prepared 2 Am I the Asshole stories for our Absolutely Not segment. And then tune in next week and I will find 2 as well. But we'll have to see what it is, because if it's like absolutely not to this person or absolutely not to this situation, what if we disagree?
Well, that's what I think is going to be interesting. I feel like I picked like pretty safe options of like, I think that we'll agree.
Sure.
But I specifically picked these 2 Am I the Assholes because they lead into an absolutely not for me.
Oh.
So we maybe just make an Am I the Asshole segment. And if we still had absolutely nots this week, it doesn't necessarily have to like correlate. But I felt like this was a good transition episode. Nice. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And so that is what I prepared today. So my first one got me a little heated.
Ooh, so excited.
Because I'll explain when I'm done, okay?
Okay.
So this is the post gotten off of Reddit. And it says, am I the asshole for exposing my sister-in-law for her using an OnlyFans account in the past at her engagement party, which destroyed said engagement and led to tons of drama with my husband's family? Oof. Now, let me preface this by I clicked on this person's account on Reddit, and they like to complain about their husband's family a lot. Specifically his brother. Okay?
Gotcha.
So that's just a little background knowledge for you. So I'm now reading from the post. Let's cut straight to the chase. I, 31 female, was invited to my sister-in-law's 25 female engagement party. At some point, I told the now ex-groom to be that he's very open-minded to marry sister-in-law when she used to have an OnlyFans account and even used to be stalked by crazy users in the past. Well, apparently, her fiance didn't know about her OnlyFans account. So you can imagine all of the drama that created between them. My sister-in-law ended up crying and running away, and my husband, 28 male, tried going after her, but his twin brother stopped him and told him that this whole situation is his fault for bringing that troublemaker, referring to me, to the party. I told him it's not a surprise that he's up for covering up someone's past, considering what's in his, and that made both him and their mother go off at me and my husband. So she's referring to the twin brother.
Okay.
Who she'd complained about previously
in different posts.
Okay. About his past like issues or whatever. Okay. We ended up leaving in order to get away from my husband's crazy family, but he ended up blaming me for uncovering my sister-in-law's past to her fiance. I told him that if she would have been upfront with him from the start, that none of this would have happened, which finally silenced my husband. Unfortunately, his family wasn't silenced, and after my sister-in-law's fiance called off the wedding, they started blaming us, mainly me, for ruining her engagement party and relationship altogether. My husband wants me to apologize to her for what I said, but I obviously refused.
Okay.
Just because she comes from a family enabling bad actions, that doesn't make them right, nor should they be further coddled.
Oh, God.
Am I the asshole?
Yes, you're the asshole. What is wrong with you? With that sentence, good for you.
This last sentence, like if you were on wavering on like, maybe I kind of see where she's coming from. Like she should like open up about something if she's genuinely concerned about people stalking them. That's where I started. I was like, okay.
The stalking I can see, but her intention fully there
was to
embarrass her for having an OnlyFans in her life.
Especially at the end. Just because she comes from a family enabling bad actions, that doesn't make them right, nor should they be further coddled.
Why don't
you lost?
No kidding. Why don't you mind your own business? Because you knew saying that was going to elicit a reaction. Whether that was him telling you to like, hey, fuck off.
Mhm.
Like, don't talk, because you clearly were saying it negatively.
Yep.
Or what happened? He
Yep.
didn't know, and now he's feeling like some type of way about it. But listen, she also, that sentence is misleading
Mm-hmm.
because it sounded like she was still continuing to use an OnlyFans account when she wasn't.
Correct.
And even if she was,
that needs to be
so
something
what?
that they need to discuss. Now, I come from a place where I feel like I'm pretty open about most things. Like, I'm the kind of person that I like to talk through just things, and that's just where I come from. So, like, if it was coming from a place of, like, I'm genuinely, like, concerned and want you to be able to have this conversation, and I'm thinking that this will be a great way to bring up this conversation. Still wrong. You're dumb. But that's not where this is coming from. Like you said, to me, this is where my absolutely not comes in. She is trying to start drama to look good.
Oh, yeah.
And for her to look like the savior or the saving grace. And when everyone turns on her and is like, you're being an asshole, she's like, me? Not me.
You shouldn't enable her to be on OnlyFans and make poor decisions. Like, what is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like the family's got a problem with you anyways if you're being referred to as a troublemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is your problem? And I feel bad for your husband at this point.
Yep.
I mean, if anyone's being enabled, it's you.
By your husband.
By your husband. Your husband needs to tell you to, like, sit down and shut up.
Yeah, I agree.
Or leave. Like, that's just so disrespectful. At her engagement party, nonetheless.
No kidding. Like, well, that's the thing too. It's not like they just started a relationship. Okay, you had so much time to, like, be a burden and be a drama, but you specifically picked this to ruin this.
Oh, absolutely. And again, who opens a sentence by saying, like, what did she say? Way to be very open-minded.
Yeah. No.
For marrying somebody who had an OnlyFans account in the past.
Yeah.
Like,
when you very obviously knew that he didn't know. You
A, knew he didn't know, or B, saying that coming across in a very, like, derogatory and shaming way towards your sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were really that concerned about, like, her, like, safety,
you would say it like that.
You would say, like, you would pull her aside earlier and say, like, hey, I just want to make sure you and your future partner are safe. Like, is all of that in the past?
Mm-hmm.
And she can privately tell you, yeah, I'm good.
But or to fuck off still.
Or to fuck off still, which she would have had every right to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you were coming at this with malice. You are the asshole. I don't know if you saw the comments and what the vote was, but
everyone agreed that she was the asshole and that she needs to remove herself from that family so they can have some peace.
God, thank goodness. Well, it sounds like a pattern of behavior, like you said, of just constant posts about
like she's bringing up stuff about his twin brother, about, like, issues with him in the past and how he's not a good judge of character for his sister because he had issues, and, like, it's a whole mess. And then, like, pretty much how the parents just, like, it's a miracle they raised such a nice man of her husband because the other kids are just awful.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's bad.
She sounds wonderful. I hope you get some therapy and get some help
and quit ruining people's lives. Thank you.
Thanks. This is one of those moments that it was like, she definitely made it about her.
Oh, yeah. I hate that. Anyway, are you ready for story number 2?
Yes.
I was going to say a little more lighthearted, but it is kind of a big deal. So, second one. Am I the asshole for not changing my cat's name?
No. Tell me more.
So I'm trying not to, like, tell you what I feel.
Ooh, okay.
With my eyes. Okay. So I recently adopted a wonderful sweetie of a shelter cat named Millie.
Cute.
That's the name that the shelter gave her. I thought it suited her, and she responds to it, so I didn't change it. The other week, my pregnant cousin, Carrie, who I'm moderately close to, posted a list of potential baby names on her social media, and Millie was on the list.
Okay.
I commented to remind her of my cat's name, and she DM'd me and asked me to change Millie's name because she and her fiance really liked that name for their daughter. I refused because my cat had her name first, and Carrie called me selfish for valuing a stupid cat over her daughter. I told her that my cat is not stupid.
Yes.
And that I wouldn't mind if her baby shared a name with my cat. But if it was an issue for her, she could choose a different name. She again called me selfish and said she had to go. I was feeling a bit conflicted, so I went to my sister, a mother herself, so I hoped she'd offer some perspective. And she said that she understands where I was coming from, but that babies should come before pets. She said that it would be really kind of me to change my cat's name and that she knows how important a couple's dream name is. Now I'm feeling more confused than ever. So, am I the asshole?
A baby that's not your baby, their possible name comes before your actual cat's name.
Can I just start here? Who posts potential baby names on their Facebook?
I don't know. Also,
like that sounds craziness to me. Like I'd never be like, "Oh, I'm pregnant." I'd love to get some feedback from
all of my Facebook friends.
700 Facebook friends.
No.
Why don't I just post all of my names? Now, one thing, and maybe this is just me, like, I post on Facebook. I do post on Facebook. But, like, I never, like, engage in conversation with someone through their comments. It's always, like, a just quick, like, happy for you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not trying to start a conversation.
No.
So I did think, I'm like, it's a little odd that instead of messaging her and saying, hey, my cat's name is Millie, that you decided to, like, comment it on their post.
What if you just said, though, like, oh, Millie, that's my cat's name? Like, very offhandedly. It's probably not
to your cousin. Imagine me doing that to you.
I'd be like, I'm not naming my child after your cat.
You're correct.
Like a reasonable human.
You're correct. She's definitely not the asshole. I just think that we need a little bit better social media etiquette. That's my only thing. Fair?
I agree. I just don't, to me, it's like, you can't call someone selfish when you're acting selfishly.
Well, and you get to pick. There's millions of name options.
And if you like Millie so much,
still name your kid Millie.
Name your kid Millie. No offense, but cats don't live forever.
And so you can name your kid Millie still. And it for her, she's like, I don't care if you name. I thought it was funny. Name your kid after my cat. But my favorite part of this was all the comments. Everyone agreed, not the asshole. Everyone thought that she should rename her cat Millie Carey.
Oh, that's hilarious. It's petty, and I like it.
Same.
To me, it's like, I get pregnancy can be a really stressful time for people, and the hormones don't always make you think super rationally or speak super rationally. So I can give a little credence there. However, why are we so hung up about someone else having the name Millie?
Yep. Well, because that's the thing. You're willing for your kid to share the name Millie with other kids. So it's not like they're the only Millie ever.
You don't own the name.
So if you're fine with, and I'm sure other people have pets named Millie. So if you're fine with your kid sharing a name with all these other kids and pets, why is it an issue that your cousin's pet is also named Millie?
Right.
If you really are set on it.
I don't know. I don't get it. To me, it's like you're being mad for no reason.
Yeah.
Just say, cool. And then if you're like, God, I really don't want my kid to be named after a cat or share the same name with my cousin's cat, then pick a different name.
Correct.
You don't want to do Millie, do Molly, do whatever, Like, there's so many names. You can pick so many names. But instead, you're like, no, you should change your cat's name. You don't get to decide what people name their cats. You don't get to decide what people name their kids. Like, no, I'm not changing my cat's name to make your day better.
Correct.
And then what happens when you don't even pick Millie? Because it sounds like you had like 15 options up there.
Yep.
Then my cat's going to be all confused.
Also, you posted your name potentials on Facebook to get some sort of reaction or help picking.
Right.
So there's your help.
There's your help. My cat's name is that. And that doesn't sound like a derogatory thing at all. You're welcome.
I'd love to share a name with a cat.
I'm sure I do. So bring it on. I know you renamed your kitty, but the 2 cats that I've owned, I've never renamed, just because like this person said, like they came with that name, and to be quite frank, it fit them.
Yeah. Mittens was originally a Nikki, and I feel like she's not a Nikki.
She doesn't look like a Nikki. And
she'd only been at the shelter like shortly, so she doesn't know her name. I don't know if she knows her name now.
No. So I had Griswold, who I remember being like, what a terrible name. We're going to change that. And then meeting him, he was just, that's who he was. I was like, yeah, there he is. There's Grizzy. And then Milo, now my big orange dum-dum. And I'm like, I couldn't call you anything else besides Milo. So it's just, there are names that fit and there are names that don't. Like I know Zach changed his dog's name, sort of. And I think cats are a little bit, it's not like I'm calling Milo and he comes running.
Yeah.
I could say anything and he'd come running.
Yeah, that's what Mittens is too. Or she'll respond to Kitty more than Mittens.
Oh. Yeah. So I do not think you're the asshole for not changing your pet's name because your cousin has a potential. And guess what? What happens when you change it? She's still going to be mad at you.
Well, on top of it, it's not like you knew your cousin had dreamed of naming their child this for like years, and then you adopted a cat and you picked the name. Like it came with the name.
Yeah.
You also didn't know your cousin wanted to name their child Millie until they posted on Facebook. So like obviously not a big deal.
Huh.
Not the asshole.
Well, like what would have been the expectation if like they didn't comment? Nothing.
Right. Nothing. Exactly.
Stupid.
Good point. Well,
that's it.
That kind of wraps up our episode today.
Woohoo! Thanks for coming and listening, and we hope to see you next week, Wednesday, where I will come and bring a theory of my own.
And some Am I the Assholes, potentially.
And some Am I the Assholes. I listen to them all the time, so.
If you want to read more about the Simpsons predicting the future, definitely check out our Twitter at IDon'tThinkSo_EH. And you can like and share and comment on our Twitter as well.
Yeah.
Reply to us. I think it's called a reply.
Sure. Big Twitter fans over here.
Sweet.
Cool. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Yeah.